Hello and welcome back to Shulchan HaRav. We continue in Hilchos Netilas Yadaim, Siman Kufnun test. We pick it up with Sifches. Chemis Kefisha, Chemis Kefisha, Fehem Mine Nodisha, or these are two kinds of leather pouches. Shetikna, someone fixed some way to make them stand up. Osalam base Moshav, and they now stand on their own. Nightly Mehem, you can wash from them. Even if they're ripped at the top or on the side, and there's some sort of damage or whatever that might be leaking. As long as it holds the revias from below that area where it's ripped, you could use it. But a sack or a basket that they've been fixed in such a way so they stand on their own, and now they're covered in tar. Now they're waterproof, they'll hold water. You can't use them for washing your hands because typically these things are not made for washing and they're not considered Keilim in this regard. Or like a leather hat. A felt hat. I feel him kashim kolkach. They're like really hard. She'ain maim zavim. The water's not leaking out. They're not really made for holding water. Nevertheless, if it were an emergency, you would be allowed to wash them because travelers might use these for drinking if they're traveling and they come upon a river or a body of water that they can fill their hat with water. It's not exactly like a bag or a basket. That's never used in any situation to hold water for drinking. Someone who does use these things, even though he wants to make them usable, most people don't. So that's why the bag and the basket are not usable, because nobody uses them. So just fact you want to use them doesn't make them usable. Some say it's also to use the leather hat, even in an emergency. It's not really made. Initially was not made to hold water. Even now, it's not really there for water. It's not like a lid of a pot which is able to stand up on its own, where we said earlier that you could use them for washing, because it is somewhat common to put liquids in them sometimes. But by a hat, that's never common to put water in there, except for people traveling, and their approach, their perspective of this is batal to everybody else. Most people don't look at these things as something that's going to hold water, even though these people do. Most people don't, right? So that's why it's usher, according to this opinion, even if it's an emergency. And also, these hats were never designated to be used this way. They're made for hats. People only drink from them once in a while, and only when there's no other options. And there are those who say you cannot use the lids of pots for this either, even if they are freestanding, unless it was set aside for this initially. Make Keilim, then they would say you can't take from the hats either. Even in an emergency, even according to the original opinion that says because sometimes people do use them, the travelers use them, you could use them. This opinion would say you can't use them. As we mentioned earlier, you should be concerned for that more stringent opinion. Have a great day.